So because one of the major concerns of people about the resale value of the vehicle.
If you have to replace the batteries, then the resale value of the vehicle goes down.
Yeah.
How do you keep the resale value of the vehicle up?
Hello everyone, welcome to Car Bike 360. I am Mohit and here we have with us Mr. Dinesh Arjun and he is CEO and co-founder of Raptee.HV. Hi Dinesh, how are you?
Doing very well, Mohit. Thank you for asking. How are you doing?
So first of all I would like to ask the same question. Can you tell us about your background and what inspired you to enter the automotive industry and particularly in electric vehicle space?
Sure. No, so my background is I am an engineer. I did my undergrad in production engineering from Chennai. I did my master's in industrial engineering from Purdue in the US. So I am as engineer as it gets. I am one of those who wanted to join engineering and joined engineering not because their parents forced them to join engineering. This is my third venture. I've been into automotive retail and manufacturing for a while. I've worked with brands like Yamaha, Royal Enfield, Value, Tafe for quite a bit. After my master's, during my stint in the US, I also got an opportunity to work with Tesla for a while. I was managing 2 production lines for them. That's in fact when we started working on Raptee, and I decided to move back to India full time to start Raptee. So when we started Raptee, it was very clear. There weren't a lot of electric two-wheeler OEMs in place, but there were a few which had been in the market for quite a bit. They had been in the market for about 10, 11 odd years, even back in 2018. But still, people weren't buying these vehicles. So, as an engineer mind would work, we only it was myself and my co-founder Kirti. We went on to ask ourselves, why aren't people buying electric two-wheelers in India? Because India is a very price-conscious market. Electric two-wheelers back then were in fact cheaper than petrol-powered vehicles. They were obviously much cheaper to run, and obviously with the added benefit of being environment friendly. Why weren't people buying electric scooters or electric two-wheelers? Was our question. And our journey of Raptee began to kind of understand how we can solve that problem, and it has brought us here to building an amazingly beautiful product that hopefully will help accelerate the transition to electric mobility in India.
Okay, so when you are manufacturing, so I would like to ask the question about localization. What is the expected timeline for India to achieve a fully localized electric two-wheeler in India, like all components entire?
I'd like to take Raptee as an example. For us, the only component that we are actually importing would be obviously the cells. We are one of the most vertically integrated, one of the most, I'd say, we're as deep tech as it gets in the electric vehicle OEM space. We make almost every single component that goes into the motorcycle is designed, developed, and by in-house and is mostly manufactured in India. However, yes, we do have limitations. For example, cells right now have to come from Asian, Southeast Asian countries. And that's a limitation for global suppliers, not just for Indian suppliers. Not just for Indian OEM. So that's obviously the cell. The second component, which is one of the more important components, is the permanent magnets itself. Magnets, globally, there is unfortunately only a single country which is, supplying close to about 99% of all of neodymium magnets. So that has to come in from China. Apart from these, there are some auxiliary components such as your touch screens, which have to be imported from other countries, not necessarily China. It can be from, for example, it can be from Europe, it can be from Taiwan, it can be from Indonesia, and more importantly, also semiconductor components. So don't get me wrong. So we make our PCBs in India. In fact, we have one of our investors is also one of India's larger EMS facilities. But though we make the PCBs in India, some of these ICs, right, the chips that go into these components also have to be imported. So is it possible for us to 100% localize? Not. But is there a necessity to? Probably not. I think the next step in India's localization will be to get cells in-house, and I think there's quite a bit of work that's already happening. We are already in talks with a couple of ACC manufacturers for our next model to be on Indian made cells.
Okay, so like what are the key challenges that you guys are facing in like manufacturing these components?
Right. So, see again, just to kind of reiterate, right? So, for us, our biggest differentiation is the high voltage drivetrain,
Okay.
right? And the reason that today nobody else is doing it is because these components are not available for anybody to kind of go buy. You put them together, play a vehicle integrator role, and make it, right? Like it has to be developed for two-wheelers in house. That's why that's why we call ourselves the most vertically integrated
So
company
like is
because
it a
we've
capital intensive or like some other things that are required like?
Uh, See, for example, most OEMs don't make something like a BMS is something that a lot of OEMs are doing, but motor controller, for example, is not made in house. A VCU is usually a borrowed component. There are some OEMs which do it as well, but when you go into the high voltage component, it's not just these bulk components like your BMS or your motor controller, but the entire architecture changes. The way we have an additional dedicated power distribution unit, which in itself is pretty complicated. It's an architectural change, right? So for us to kind of get all of these components together, develop it from scratch, and then make it work together and then deliver to the customer is one of the biggest challenges. But that is what we've crossed, and that's where we are.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
But bigger challenge is obviously today the Indian automotive industry has been built in a way that it is a lot of components are dominated by either monopolies or duopolies. Depending on which component you're talking about, right? So electronics apart, even in terms of mechanical components, there are very few manufacturers for each and every one of these components, which means you're forced to purchase from specifically these manufacturers who are sometimes willing to work, sometimes not willing to work. So that is definitely a challenge, yes.
Okay, like so I have seen one of your discussion in which you were talking like Raptee.HV like in your T30 model is like you can say an upgrade for a person who is like let's say driving a 150cc bike or something. So like there are many big players in the market. Let's say Bajaj, even in ICE, it's also a competition for an EV. So like even if you take like example of Bajaj, KTM or different big players in the market, so like how you are planning to compete with them?
Right. No, so the intention is not to race against them or compete with them, right? The intention is to give a good product. See, we are of the firm belief that a customer would only truly switch over to electric if you give them a product which is truly an upgrade to whatever he or she is currently riding. And that is what we want to give. It is not our intention to go head on against ICE vehicle OEMs, but rather how do we develop a product that is, let's say you have a 250cc, 300cc ICE motorcycle, and then you have another electric motorcycle. Why would you choose this if it's the same price? You choose this only if it is you truly believe it's better, it's more fun to ride. Because why does one buy a 250cc motorcycle, right? And that's what we set out to solve. Today, we believe that if you were to take a 300cc motorcycle and our motorcycle and drive it together, you'll find the difference in how these vehicles ride. And you'll find that the electric motorcycle can be so much more fun than a petrol vehicle ever could. And that is what we want to deliver, thereby telling the customer, yes, electric vehicles can be better than petrol motor vehicles, and hence pushing them to buy one.
Okay, and like the name itself, Raptee, is like derived from reptiles, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So like the design, like you have inspired from, like have you designed it by yourself or thought about it, or someone like you, how did you get the idea of that like design?
No, so early on in terms of design, we actually did a lot of work. The word Raptee is derived from the word raptor, which is a dinosaur, which again from the reptilian families. However, when we started designing, it wasn't my design from our point of view, but we do have a amazing design team who kind of designed the entire thing ground up. We obviously had a lot of support from some of the best automotive designers in the industries who were mentoring them, advising them. But we're proud to say that we have a design team in-house which has not only taken, drafted a design, but rather carried that from a sketch stage to the final product stage while keeping in mind what will be the not just the requirements of comfort and ergonomics, but also how will such a product fare in environments, in tough environments, in Indian roads. You know, there are instances where it's not uncommon for a motorcycle to fall down. How will the panels fare during such incidents? So yeah, we're extremely proud of the fact that the design team, along with our BIW team, has kind of built the entire vehicle design in house and has brought it to this level.
Okay, so like initially it was the same design, and like how many times you have changed it? Like so that this is not
Uh,
working, this is not working, like something like this.
No, so I mean, there definitely have been a ton of iterations, but just the other day, a couple of days ago, we were looking at one of our original designs from 2019, right?
Okay.
So 2019 is 2019 October is when we actually officially incorporated, but we had started working on our products early on, and that key design sketch. Has kind of been carried over till date, right? So over the last 5 years, and that's one of the most important things that we've done here, right? Like, though we are flexible, we are very clear on what we want. We're very clear on what we wanted to deliver from day one. So our design has not really changed from a core philosophy front over the last 5 years. If you look at the design sketch from 2019, you'll still see the same curves, same lines, the bone line that is on the vehicle, the C curve that kind of gives the vehicle muscle. All of that is there even in 2019. So yes, not a lot of changes.
So like if we like talk about batteries, so like what are the most commonly used batteries in like electric two wheelers in India, or you can say
Right,
in
today,
around the world?
uh, today I think lithium-ion NMC and LFP battery packs are widely used. I mean, still say LFP is uh,
Yeah.
at a much lower, with in much lesser number of models. NMC is the more widely used chemistry, but I think that's going to be here to stay, right?
Okay.
NMC cells will probably be the form the majority of electric two wheelers battery packs because of the energy density that they have. LFP is, the bridge between LFP and NMC is, shrinking, but I really doubt the mass market will move away from NMC anytime soon. So yeah, lithium ion NMC I think is going to be the mass market
And what
battery pack
about solid state
provider.
batteries?
So I don't think solid state batteries have been proved for commercial use in two wheelers at scale. So I think that's definitely going to take some time, right? We're at least 5 years away, in my point of view, from putting a solid state battery on a commercially sold series manufactured electric motorcycle. So yeah.
Yeah. So like what's the typical lifespan of those current batteries, and like
So yeah, so the typical lifespan of the current batteries in the market are extremely varied. So I'd not want to comment on that. But again, as part of what we set out to build, we are coming out with a battery pack that comes with an 8-year warranty, uh, essentially promising a 12-year battery life of the 12-year battery life. Essentially means just like you would never think about replacing an engine in a motorcycle, you're not expected to replace the battery pack
yeah.
as well. And this is technology that's already available, but needs to be kind of implemented properly to be able to get to this level of reliability, and that's essentially what we're doing. Uh, so yeah, so you don't have to ever think about replacing the batteries in your vehicle.
Okay. Yeah. So because one of the major concerns of people about the resale value of the vehicle in electric vehicle. So like what's
Right,
your take on
right.
this? Yeah.
No, right. So that's one of the other items that we kind of focused on, right? Where if you have to replace the batteries, then the resale value of the vehicle goes down,
Yeah.
right? So how do you keep the resale value of the vehicle up by ensuring that your batteries don't degrade over a period of time, right? And I think there are quite a few electric scooter manufacturers who've already started doing that, right? Where they're able to kind of prove that over a 3-5 year period, the deterioration of the batteries is not more than 10%, which is already, people are able to show that. We're taking that one notch further with the advanced technology that we've built over the last 5 years to be able to tell you that, yes, the battery pack will last 12 years, out of which we're giving a warranty of about 8 years.
Okay, and so you can say the vehicle warranty is like for 3 years and battery 8 years.
Right.
So like, does it affect if the like why so much difference in both the things?
I think this is unfortunately, uh, the components of the vehicle, the mechanical components versus the battery are built extremely differently. And I don't think it's just the case with Raptee. It's become the norm in the automotive industry, more specifically even cars, where offering a warranty of over 3 years for mechanical components is not very realistic. But battery is something that we're able to kind of promise the reliability and longevity that we want to give. And more importantly, we also believe that this helps build confidence in our customers. So yeah.
Yeah, so also like you guys have a like battery management system or technology. Okay.
Right.
So like what safety measures are integrated into it so that it prevents overheating or catching fire and safety?
Uh, I'm not sure if you had a chance to look at our launch video,
Yeah.
but in the launch video, you will see how our battery packs are manufactured. Our battery packs use a specific process of assembly, and also the way that structurally how the battery pack is made makes it theoretically fire and explosion proof, right?
No,
So
like how
it's
it
very
monitors, like it's saying like it monitors 24/7, like whether it's in on idle condition or it's running. So like what?
right. No, so I'm not even getting to the BMS level, right? So at the fundamental pack level, that's what we've done, right? We've tried to ensure that the pack in itself is fire and explosion proof.
Yeah.
But more importantly, after once the hardware level functions are done, well, now the BMS now, like you said, monitors these cells 24/7, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's connected, whether it's not connected, even the battery pack, even if it's not connected to the vehicle, which in a customer's case it won't be, but even if the battery pack is kept aside, the BMS is always running, right? It's continuously monitoring the cells. For example, we have 32 sensors of 32 temperature sensors that we have kept on our battery pack, which is among the highest, if not the highest, in the two-wheeler industry, right? So we are measuring temperature at multiple different points. We're measuring voltage of these cells at multiple different points, 64 to be exact, and we're getting all of this data to understand how these cells are in the battery pack. So obviously, when there is overcharge, over discharge, whether the battery pack is charging too fast, battery pack is discharging too fast, these errors are all automatically thrown out. The one, obviously, our vehicle control unit is notified, so that tells the rider, okay, there's something wrong with your battery pack. Either head to the service center or keep your vehicle aside. Again, just to be clear, these are all edge cases, right? These are all end cases that if it happens, there's a warning. Like today in our petrol cars and petrol bikes, how often do we see warnings? It's the same thing, right? We don't want these vehicles to throw warnings anytime soon. But in the case that in the off chance that something does happen, warnings are clearly present. And not only does the BMS throw warnings, but also takes corrective action to ensure that the battery pack stays safe and also doesn't affect the vehicle or the rider.
And like we say EVs are like eco-friendly and all, but the way we manufacture batteries, right, like we have to extract like various elements like lithium, cobalt or other stuffs, so like it's consumes a lot of, like it burns a lot of fossil fuels while manufacturing, sorry. So like, is it really worth it, like compared to after the final product?
I think this is a much larger argument that we could definitely debate upon. But I think, see, fundamentally, when you look at it, the amount of energy that goes into mining these components and getting them out is again again, you have to look at the life cycle, emissions life cycle, right? Like how much emissions goes into putting the manufacturing the vehicle, and then how much emissions goes into operating the vehicle over an 8 to 12 year period, right? So when you really look at it, yes, we do agree that to start off with, the emissions that come off of manufacturing the vehicle is going to be slightly higher than a competing petrol powered motorcycle, but the emissions that are generated over the operating period of the petrol powered motorcycle is going to significantly, or rather the savings there will significantly outweigh the initial emissions that we put in. And that's today, right? I'm not saying that it's okay to be, building vehicles this way. What's continuously happening is, see, we've built petrol powered motorcycles for the last 120 years, right? We've had 120 years to evolve to get where we are today, right? Electric vehicles, in all practical, practical for all practical purposes, are roughly, I'd say, if I take 2008, the best case, we're about 16 years into the cycle, right? And we're already seeing significantly higher rates of development in this technology. So there will be a point where it will make a lot more sense. It will take a lot less emissions to make an electric vehicle compared to a petrol powered vehicle. When that time will come, we'll have to wait and watch. But there is innovation continuing to happen, right? In our case, where we're building a product that's never been done before in the two-wheeler industry, where a company out of Chennai who has built a product that's completely new. Similarly, there are companies working across the globe to build it, but that doesn't mean we can look back and say no, this is not going to work, right? We really need to kind of break down some of these facts and understand, okay, where does this go? Where does this come from? And is this really making a difference for the matter? And we definitely believe it is.
So right now you guys are situated only in Chennai and Bangalore, right?
So our factory is in Chennai. We hope to open our first outlet in Bangalore in January as well. We already have our outlet here in Chennai. It will be open to the public in the coming weeks. So yes, Chennai and Bangalore is where we want to start off with, but we want to be in at least 10 cities across India by the end of next year.
Okay, so like how will you manage the servicing?
After sales is something that we've been focusing on for quite a bit. In fact, our sales and our front end team has a ton of experience coming in from the existing premium motorcycle industry, right? So they've seen how motorcycles are sold, how they service, what kind of attention is required to customers. So in terms of service, we're going through a hybrid route. Every outlet that we open will have its own service center, right? In addition to these service centers, we will also have doorstep service, right? But the goal for us is to reduce the amount of times that the vehicle actually comes down to service. Today, the problem in the market is not that there's a lack of service centers, but there's a lack of service centers compared to the number of vehicles that are coming into service, right? And that varies from brand to brand, right? I can argue a brand A has significantly less per bike, service centers to the number of vehicles that they've sold in the market versus a company B, but they're still able to do much better than company B because the number of failures of this product is significantly more. All due respect to everybody in the industry. And that's where our focus is. How can we deliver a product that doesn't require or doesn't fail in the first place? Periodic maintenance is different.
Yeah.
Maintenance after the product has failed is different, right? For periodic maintenance, we have the entire system rolled out. To prevent failure maintenance, we're first, and that's why we've taken 5 years to enter the market, right? We've been at this since, again, we officially incorporated in October 2019. We're in November of 2024. The reason that we've taken so long is because we've not only built the entire tech from scratch, but our vehicles have been on the road testing for over 2 years. And that will speak when the product also comes out. And that's what we want to do. We want to ensure that these vehicles don't fail in the first place. And if they do, there is enough access to service centers for our customers. That's one of the reasons. What we're trying to do is limit the number of vehicles that we sell in the first year, right? So if I sell my motorcycle to one customer, I want to ensure that one customer is completely satisfied with my product. I don't want to sell it to 100 customers and see 50 customers not satisfied with my product. And that's the approach that we're taking.
So like T30 is the only motorcycle in India which is compatible with CCS to the car charging station. So
Exactly.
can you walk us through it, like how exactly it works?
Um, just to kind of give you, just to kind of give the audience a little bit of background, every single electric car in the industry, right from the most affordable electric car, which is priced at about 6 lakh rupees, to the most expensive electric car that's priced roughly about 13 crore rupees in India. Every single electric car that's sold in India uses a single standard. It's called CCS. It's like, when I mean standard, it's like petrol or diesel, right?
It's like
every
Type
car
C lightning cables, kind of those things.
Right, exactly. Okay, let's use USB Type C as an example here, and an analogy here, right? So across India, there are already roughly about 16,000 chargers that has already been set up.
Okay.
And Mr. Gadkari ji has already mentioned that he's going to strive towards doubling these charges by the end of the financial year, right? All of these charges that are already in place and that are going to come up are on the same standard, which is CCS. This is what cars are using. For example, I drive an electric car myself. I do Chennai, Bangalore all the time, and I can use these charges to charge my car, right? Now, when it comes to electric two-wheelers, because of the low voltage architecture that all of these electric two-wheelers are based out of, because that was the architecture that was available so far, these vehicles can either be charged at their specific chargers, which are very far and few, or you will have to carry a 5 to 8 kilo charger wherever you go to charge your motorcycle. Because we are on high voltage, we can now use the CCS charging stations that are already set up for electric cars. So our customers don't have to search for charging stations. They can charge anywhere, and these charges are already abundant. And we as a company don't have to go around setting up charging stations, because we are automatically, our customers will be compatible with the entire charging infrastructure from day one.
So like you guys use like custom OS also, like in your screen. So on which platform, like it is based on Linux or what?
Right. So the OS that we built is built on a platform called automotive grade Linux.
Okay.
So it's AGL. It is a form of Linux, but this is again it has its own specific structure, and the entire setup is specifically built for the automotive use case, and we've built our own custom software based on that, right? So this gives us a lot more control on what the product can do today and also in the future, right? So over-the-air updates are already deployed as of today. So every motorcycle that we ship will come with a potential to have over-the-air updates, and we will continuously improve not just the features of the vehicle, but also the performance and how the vehicle performs on the road, right? So that's one of the things that we take real pride in, because now we're able to give a product to the customer that is going to significantly be better 1 or 2 years after usage than when he or she purchased the motorcycle.
Like in our phones, we get software updates kind of thing. So like, is it same for the motorcycles as well?
It's a very similar process. The process will be the same. The way that we will roll out updates will be based on feature builds and how far, what features we're coming out with, and also in terms of criticality of how the vehicles are performing. But yeah, it's very, very similar to how you would see in your phone.
What are your long-term goals with Raptee?
Goal for us is very clear. We want to accelerate the transition into electric motorcycling, and that's fundamentally the goal. And the way that we want to do that is by building products that people want to buy, right? Today, we believe the reason that people aren't going into electric vehicles is because, one, they think electric vehicles are not good enough, is not as good enough as a petrol powered vehicle. Second, there aren't many motorcycle options available, and even those that are available are not really seen as a replacement to a pedal board motorcycle, but rather a downgrade from a pedal board motorcycle. These are the two things that we want to change. We want to give a product that delivers better than a pedal board motorcycle, but also a product that people are proud to own.
Okay, so like, will you be making only motorcycles or scooters as well, or any different?
For the near future, we do not plan on entering the scooter segment yet, but we our next few products that in the pipeline are all motorcycles, and we plan to stay in this segment for a while.
Yeah, but like in the market, like people prefer electric scooters more compared to like electric bikes. So like, why is it so? If you
I think it's not that they prefer electric scooters versus electric bikes. I think there are a lot more options available for electric scooters than electric motorcycles, and I think that is what we are here to change.
or it can be like only for commuting, like where the people who don't think about, like mainly people buy bikes out of passion or like fun. Okay, not in case of scooters, like they use for daily cases. Okay, that's why maybe like people are using Yulu and different all kinds of electric scooters compared to electric bikes. Maybe it kind of that, like the bikes drive more passion towards, like from the person, like.
What we'd really like to change. So our commitment is, like I said at the start of the interview, we'd like to put any 300cc motorcycle parallel to our motorcycle, give the rider a chance to ride both, and tell us which they like to ride, which is a lot more fun to ride, right? And that's what we want to do. We want to build. We want to prove that electric motorcycles can be as fun, and that's the passion, right? The passion towards motorcycling is because of the fun component in it.
Yeah.
And if I can prove that electric motorcycles can be a lot more fun, then you have it there. So that's essentially what we want to give.
Okay, and so after, like if customer has to buy like T30, so like what kind of subsidies he can opt for?
As it stands for electric motorcycles that cost more than 1.5 lakh rupees, there are no government subsidies in the market that directly reduce the price. But obviously, we still come at the 5% GST tax bracket, and depending on which state you are in, road tax is also either completely absorbed by the government or partially absorbed by the government. So you still have road tax benefits and GST benefits. So yeah, our products start at 2.39 lakhs extra. So yeah,